Are you tired of not knowing how to respond when people say, email, or post really dumb things? Today I'm looking at 3 things we can do when people say something dumb. All right, so this whole concept of receiving some email, and you're like, where in the world did this come from? I get those all the time. Or I don't know about you, have you been scrolling through Facebook and someone has made some really dumb comment on Facebook? You're like, are you kidding me? How can they, like, and you just get, the blood starts to boil because of this statement this person has said. You're like, how, are they dumb? What's wrong with them? Whether it's an email, a Facebook post, or even someone looking you at the face and saying to you, I want to talk today about how the Bible teaches what we should do with our talk when we're stuck in a situation where someone is being dumb. Now listen, Colossians 4:6 says this, let your conversation be full of grace. How many, sometimes you ever read the Bible like, I wish that wasn't there. I wish I could just take that out. You know, in my Bible, I'm removing that one. I'd have let your conversation be full of intensity or correctness, but no. It actually says, let your conversation be full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. Ephesians 4:29 says this, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. So you're like, oh yeah, I got that one, right? Like I'm going to tell that person that they are not an Ephesians 4:29 person, that what they're saying is dumb, it doesn't fit. Why do you think you could do that? That's not what this is saying. Listen, that when someone does that to you and I, how do we respond? We have to respond in a way that it actually benefits those who listen. I don't know about you, but there's times where reading the Bible frustrates me because I'm like, oh man, I want to place the blame on somebody else. But I want to look at just 3 ways that I've learned in my own personal life how to navigate just offensive emails or dumb things you see online or whatever else. The first thing for me is I try to ignore it. There's something that one of my mentors taught me that was so important. He said, you can't own everybody's opinion. It's impossible. The more you get involved in leadership, the more you step out into leadership, the more people are following, the more people have different opinions. And if you try to own everybody's opinion, you let everyone have that authority in your life, you actually won't be able to lead very long because you'll become crippled. We live in an online world right now. There's this thing online called trolls where they literally search out your stuff and they just troll it. They just say offensive stuff just to get people fired up and angry and get into big fights on the internet. The reality is you can't own that. There has to come a spot in your life where you have to be able to scroll through Facebook and realize, you know what? If I make a response to this, it's probably not going to create any change. It's just going to start this big online debate and this big online stuff. We have to realize that it's not worthwhile taking all these mindsets and owning them and believing them and sitting and wrestling through them. When someone writes something brutal to us and we're lying in bed at night wrestling over that email from this random person that didn't even have the guts to sign it, why are we stressing out about this? We actually have to learn to just take some stuff that we see on a Facebook thread, that we get in an email, that comes texted to us. We have to just go, you know what? That is not my issue. This isn't mine. This person is out of line. This person is incorrect. This person isn't seeing properly. Whatever it is, I'm not going to take the ownership of this concept and let it sit in my life and control me for so long. I get this way with reading stuff on Facebook. I'm constantly like, oh, I want to respond to this. I can't believe that person's so dumb. How do they not understand that their decision to do that is going to do this? And especially if it's around political stuff, right? Like, oh, how do they not know? But the reality is I actually have to just scroll by it. Just don't stop the scroll. Just keep going. Stop worrying about it. Stop thinking about it. The second thing is this, is if it's a more serious scenario than just a Facebook post of someone writing off about their political view. If it's an email that's come in about, something about your work style or something about who you are, or it's a character attack on who you are or whatever, then I have to actually pause for a moment and go, who is it that's writing this statement? Who is it that made this dumb statement or this dumb thing? Who is it? And I have to look and go, is this person actually have some authority? Is this person actually somebody we've been trying to connect with as a church? Is this person somebody that's a family member or a boss or an authority figure in my life? What is going on here? Why did this happen? And what I have to realize is this, is people actually have issues bigger than the issue they're being dumb about. Come on. How many times have you done something because you were upset at something else and you responded negatively in another situation? How many of you have come home from a bad day at work and kicked the dog? No, I'm just joking. I would never do that. You shouldn't do that. That's horrible, right? But how many of you have done that? You come home from a bad day at work and you snap at your wife. You're not snapping at your wife because she's a horrible person. You're actually not even snapping at your wife because she's done anything wrong. You're snapping at your wife because the fact is that you're frustrated with this situation over here. And that happens all the time. And when people send us dumb emails or send us dumb comments or write something offensive, the reality is one of the good things we can do is stop and pause and go, maybe there's more going on than what I'm seeing in this email. Maybe there's more going on than what's being portrayed here. Maybe there's a larger problem. Maybe there's a larger disconnect. And I actually have to let what it talked about, let my conversations be full of grace. I actually have to go, maybe I don't know the full picture, and this is this person's response of frustration or hurt or loneliness or desperation. Maybe this aggressive tone is actually a cry for help because they just want somebody to listen and no one has taken them seriously. To actually sit back and go, maybe there's another perspective. I've also learned this. I get dragged into a lot of dumb conversations. I get accused of a lot of things. But what I do like to do is to sit back and go, is there truth? Maybe their presentation was wrong. Maybe their word choice was wrong. Maybe even their perspective of my handling the situation was wrong. But was there some element of truth that I can actually glean from and go, maybe I could have handled that better. Maybe I could have used better choices of words. Maybe my passion to do this over here has created this vacuum over here. And I never saw it from that perspective because I only saw the passion side of my perspective. I never saw the vacuum or the hole or the hurt that it was creating in this completely separate other idea or realm. So yes, I start off with, I'm going to ignore it. If I can't ignore it because it's from somebody important, someone a priority, someone I'm wanting to engage with, somebody that I have a heart for, if it's an outsider looking in, I go, okay, if the intent of this person actually maybe is because they're hurt, there's a bigger picture, maybe there's some truth. I know it's hard to admit we're not perfect. I know it's hard to admit that we actually could grow. And it's hard to admit that maybe in the accusations that are being made, that there could be a sliver of truth there that we could glean from and lean into. And lastly, what I do when I receive dumb comments from somebody or hurtful email is I become slow to react. I love this. Proverbs 10:19 says, sin is not ended by multiplying words, but the prudent hold their tongue. Yeah, it's easy to want to just and write off an email like and then send. Like, yeah, I showed them. You know what the Bible says? It actually increases sin. But the wise, the prudent, the holy, they withhold. I have a tendency that if I'm upset with somebody, I will hit reply to that email. I'll delete the person's email address right away. I will write the nastiest of emails to them. And then I'll send it to my wife and say, hey, can you check this over and tell me if it's okay? And she'll send back and say, are you drunk? You can't send that. That's a horrible thing. Are you even a man of God? And I will then sit down and I'll look at it. And I go, okay, fine. And I put it away. And then I actually try to hold off. Some people tell you 24 hours for a day. We don't live in a world that can wait that long. But I'll try to hold off for 2 hours, 3 hours. And I'll come back to that email and reword that email a little bit more diplomatically. Reword that email. Go, man, maybe it wasn't worth it for me to die on this hill. Maybe my language here was really aggressive. Maybe I'm missing the point of what they're trying to say because I'm hurt. I was hurt in the moment. But now that I've had a couple hours to process it, maybe there is some life that can come from this conversation. And I'll reword that email. I'll reword that posting and build it in a way that it actually says what I want. Because my goal and your goal isn't to create more fences and more arguments and more fights. It's actually to create life. And it's actually to help myself and them grow. And it's actually to be covered with grace and God's love and God's compassion. So the next time someone does something dumb and you want to just respond, I want to encourage you, ignore it. I want to encourage you to see from a different perspective and slow down your response. Have an awesome day.